When I first started imbibing the Abraham truths, I'll call them, I found myself having to question other things that I used to think as true. So I'm trying to synthesize a couple of different teachings that I've been juggling with all my life. You talked about desire, and in some Eastern traditions, desire is equated with suffering, that having desire is suffering. I have come to the realization, and Abraham has kind of supported that we are desire factories. That in fact desire cannot be stopped and it's okay.
You can't be eternal and absent of desire, because the desire is what calls it all forward.
So my imperfect understanding that desire is equated with suffering needs to be replaced with a perfect understanding that the suffering really comes from the lack of immediate fulfillment. That's where we human beings suffered. It's not in having desire, it's in expecting it to manifest immediately.
Let's talk about it. It's even more base than that. You're right on it. But in very simple terms, when your life has caused you to become vibrationally something that you're not letting yourself be, you feel bad.
Yes.
And it is not inaccurate to say, my desire is part of the reason I feel bad, because before I became that expanded being, I didn't feel as much resistance between who I'm letting myself be and who I've become. So we wouldn't say they're wrong, because if someone called you on the telephone and said, hello, you don't know me, I'm just calling to tell you I will never call you again, you would say, okay. But if someone that you cared about called you and said, I'm never going to call you again, you'd feel bad. And some could say, you feel bad because you have the desire that that person calls you again. If you could get rid of the desire that that person calls you again, then you wouldn't feel bad. And we say, the trouble with that is you can't become less than life has caused you to become. You can't regress. You can't undo and be what you were before.
What causes our feelings of guilt in wanting too much? What causes our feelings?
Your belief in something that doesn't exist. Your belief in shortage. Your belief that if you take more than your fair share, someone else will be deprived. Mm-hmm. And we say, you can't get sick enough to help sick people be well. Do you ever say, I've been well for so long, I think I'll be sick for the next 10 years to allow more wellness for the sick people?
I think it does come from an understanding, not an appreciation, but a teaching of shortage, a teaching of scarcity.
A teaching of that's based on action. In other words, and we understand why you'd get there. You have these decided beginnings and endings to your experience that you call birth and death. And so you tend to want to quantify everything in beginnings and endings. It's hard for you to remember that you are this eternal stream of consciousness. And so then, especially when you are action-oriented, in your action orientation, you see there's a limit to how much you can do. There's just a limit to how much you can move around with a physical body in a 8-hour day or in a 12-hour day. In other words, that's what we meant by getting hold of those oars and trying really hard. You really try hard. We watch you, even in this time of incredible technology. You are working hard, just keeping up with your email. In other words, you are involved in so much action, even though your machines are washing your clothes and your machines are washing your dishes and the machines are harvesting the crops and the machines are manufacturing the cars. And so in terms of real physical action, Esther watches the people building the buildings and she says to them from a distance, you're about the only ones that are still picking it up and putting it over there. In other words, there are still labor-intensive things going on your planet, but there's only so much that you can do in a period of time in relationship to action. And there is so much more that you can accomplish when you get into the alignment of thought. When you begin aligning ideas, you could sit for 15 minutes at the beginning of a day and conjure an image of yourself in your body or in your environment or in your business to be or in your relationship to be. And if you could imagine it to the point that you bring yourself to some level of enthusiasm, you will have accomplished more in that 15 minutes of visualization than you could in 10 years of action. We're not kidding you.
I agree. I think you're...
The leverage in alignment. But most people do not benefit from the leverage in alignment because they think about what they want and they go immediately to what they don't want. So they don't maintain enough continuity. If you hold a thought for as little as 17 seconds, law of attraction responds to it. That's the point where law of attraction kicks in. Hold it for another 17 seconds and another level of law of attraction kicks in. Do that until you've achieved alignment without resistance for 68 seconds, and you have activated the resources of the universe. And your action becomes less necessary when you do that. But most people are not aware of the power of thought or the power of energy vibration because they've been depending upon action and complaining about it too. In other words, if you're joyful in your action, then you're not contradicting your alignment. And that's what we wish for you. We want your action to be the delicious way in which you pluck the fruits of your vibrational labor. We want your labor, there isn't any, to be vibrational, to be thought, to be energy, to be amusement, to be amazement, to be appreciation. We want you to direct your thoughts with an eye to what's happening in your belly while you do it. Esther's really been on this visualization jag because she can feel this avalanche of wonderment flowing toward her. And so she's preparing for the future experience. She knows that their business as it exists, their buildings as they exist, their website as it exists, their financial arrangement in terms of receiving from clients as it exists, nothing is going to be big enough for what's coming. She can feel it, you see. And she can't even imagine what's coming. She can feel it, but she can't even get her thoughts around it. It is so big. And so she's been lying in her bed in the morning and just trying to find the feeling place of whatever it is, feeling good when it comes. In other words, even the idea of an avalanche is like something big is coming at me and it's going to take me over. But to ride an avalanche. You think being on a surfboard is fun. Riding an avalanche is what you have intended to do from your non-physical perspective, you see. So she's been waking up early in the morning and lying in her bed while all is quiet. And she's been conjuring feelings that give her this feeling of expansiveness and this feeling of exhilaration, and she's been working to maintain only positive feelings in it, because she'll feel the positive come and then she feels a little dread seeping in, like we're not ready. And then she'll feel the positive come and then she'll feel the little bit of dread. And so she knows what she's working on, and she also knows that a little bit of dread in the avalanche of good thoughts that she's having feels very much like a sore thumb. In other words, she can feel it right away. What we want Esther to understand is she doesn't have to figure out how to do it. She only has to take pleasure in the dreaming of it. It's the universe's job to figure out how and where and who. It's your job to figure out what and why, you see. And so that's that creative edge that you want to hold yourself on. And when you start thinking about what and why, what and why, what and why, solutions to problems appear even before the problem. So you live problemless as you are moving forward in this exhilaration that you call life. It is so good. Once you begin to harness the power of your true beingness, you are less interested in action unless the action is utterly pleasing in the process, you see. You don't do stuff to make it happen. You do it because you want to do it. It's already been made to happen through the alignment of energy. And if you really want to lay this out in a way that almost without exception you can really hear that, think about the multi-billionaire who could not possibly justify his receiving of his wealth through his behavior. He's not that fast at anything. He can't manufacture that many cars in a day by himself to justify the multi-billions that he is receiving. You have to accept that there are other factors. All your life, you've seen people who seem to be doing very little thriving, and people who are working their brains out, not getting anything in terms of comparison. You just have to know, and you do, that there are other factors. And we're here to tell you the factor is vibration, and vibration is thought, and thought is power, and emotion is your indication of the alignment. Thought out of alignment, not powerful.
Appreciation. You've used the word a lot, and other people have used it. But what is it really? Because I did read the definition, and it was something about to see the nature of or to increase the value of. And I use appreciation a lot to turn downstream. And I just wondered if you would expand on that.
Well, we're glad you looked it up in the very literal sense, because to add value, to increase the value of, is so inherent in what we're talking about also. Now think about the contrast that you live and the asking that you're offering and the stream that's moving. And then think about reaching for thoughts that feel better and thoughts that feel better until you truly come into a vibration of appreciation. And for sake of comparison, we would say the vibration of true love, that feeling of being in love, that feeling that you have sometimes when you see someone and you just feel like you're moving through one another, the feeling that you have when you are looking at the innocence of a child and feeling the beauty and power of that child. In other words, love and appreciation are identical vibrations. It's the vibration of alignment with who you are. It's the absence of resistance. It's the absence of doubt and fear. It's the absence of self-denial or hatred to others. It's the absence of everything that feels bad and the presence of everything that feels good. And as you focus yourself more and more downstream until you get in the vicinity of that love and appreciation, it just calls you to it in a very powerful way. Conversely, let's talk about the difference between, let's say, gratitude and appreciation. Many people use them interchangeably, but we don't feel the same vibrational essence in them at all. Because when you feel gratitude, often you are looking at a struggle that you've overcome. And feeling grateful, in other words, happy that you're still not in the struggle, but you are still messing with that vibration just a little bit in that, you see. And there can be no adding value to in that vibration. In other words, the difference between inspiration, which is being called to who you are, and motivation, which is trying to make yourself go somewhere, that's a similar difference, you see. And so appreciation is that tuned in, tapped in, turned on. Appreciation is vibrational alignment with who I have become. The state of appreciation is me being in sync with the whole of that which I am. Being in a state of appreciation is seeing whatever I'm looking at through the eyes of Source. And when you are in that state of appreciation, you could walk down a crowded street with all kinds of things that a lot of other people find reason to criticize or even worry about, and you would not have access to them because your vibration of appreciation is picking out for you things of a different vibrational nature. A state of appreciation is a state of godliness. A state of appreciation is being who you really are. A state of appreciation is who you were the day you were born and who you will be the moment you die. And it would be, if we were standing in your physical shoes, your quest in every moment. But the tricky thing is, Joseph Campbell used the word bliss, and we think it's equal. Follow your bliss. Sometimes you can't get a whiff of bliss from where you are. So we say, if you're in despair, follow your revenge. It's downstream. If you're in revenge, follow your hatred. It's downstream. If you're in hatred, follow your anger. It's downstream. If you're in anger, follow your frustration. It's downstream. If you're in frustration, follow your hope. It's downstream. If you're in hope, now you're in the vicinity of appreciation. Once you get into the vibration of hope, now begin making lists of things that you feel good about and fill your notebooks full of them. Make lists of positive aspects. Make lists of things you love. Go to the restaurant and look for your favorite things and never complain about anything. Look for the thing that you like the best, even if there was only one thing in all of it that you like. Give it your undivided attention and use it as your excuse to be who you are. Use it as your excuse to be who you are. And as you use those things that shine bright and make you feel good as your excuse to give your attention and as your excuse to be who you are, you'll tune to who you are, and the whole world will begin to transform before your eyes. It's not your job to transform it for others, but it is your job to transform it for you.